Hi guys, welcome back to the Raw Light podcast. My name is Danielle Baker and thank you for being here today. Thanks so much guys for all your messages and comments, and people have been messaging me privately saying thank you just about the podcast really. It's actually an honor to kind of like bring my knowledge to you guys. So I thought this week I could kind of get on here and have a bit more of a chat, and I want to get on here and I want to share with you guys. Obviously, you know that I've been going through some big transitions. I'm not afraid to have that conversation with people and with the world because I think we don't talk about it enough. So let me just go down that road for a second. And if you haven't listened to any other podcasts, and this is the first podcast that you have to listen to previously, go back and listen to probably a couple of the first ones so you get a bit of an instinct on who I am, and then we can kind of run through some things. But today I wanted to talk about emasculation of a man, and it is super easy to do when you have a child. And first of all, I'd like to say that I discovered something, and I have been going through another massive awakening in my life. So, for those of you that don't know what an awakening is basically when you all of a sudden have knowledge that clicks and you can understand why your behavior or why you have been behaving a certain way. So, for me, that happens quite a bit. I go through my life, and every time I up level to the next stage, it's really sticky and really hard for about I'd say 4 to 6 months. And the last phone call I had with my mentor, he said to me, he was like, I'm actually worried about you because you're not actually handling things as well as what you normally are. And I let things get to me recently, and it really, really upset me. Now, a lot of stuff that I share on here, I try and be as diplomatic as possible as I can because I try and respect how I'm going about things and also respect my partner, because both of us, it's a very sacred relationship that we have, and I see it as a very sacred relationship. But my learnings and my teachings really need to be shared so that other women are aware of how they go about their life and their behavior as well. Now, I want to make this very clear. This episode is not for someone if they really feel they are against men and the masculine. This is not the podcast for you, because you're probably not going to like what I'm about to say. And if you are intrigued and you want to keep going down this road, then that is totally up to you. You don't have to agree with me, but I can tell you that there is scientific facts that back this up. And also, I know for a fact by seeing it play out in my own life that it is very true and very real. So, quite a few years back, I think, when I was living in Woodlands, I had like this cute little apartment. It like overlooked like a little bit of the water's edge. If you know where Woodlands is, it's in Perth, Western Australia, and it was a really cute apartment. I loved it. It was around like the Woodlands lake, around that area. And I had a really, really, really beautiful time in that apartment actually. I had some really hard times there too, but also some really beautiful times. What I will say is that years ago, when I first split up with my ex-partner, Carl, we were together for like 4.5 years. I've spoken about it on here before. I read this book, and the book is called The Queen's Code. And I can't remember how I discovered this book. I think I was I think I looked up on like the internet or something. Like I'm guided to books in general, really. But how this book came about, I can't really remember. I know that I read it, and as soon as I read it, I messaged him and I apologized to him because there was some things that I knew that my behavior was really, really bad. So I'm going to go back a little bit more. For those of you who are regulars here, you know that I've spoken about sexual assault on here before. So I am going to say this again before I start talking about this. There is a little trigger warning because I am just going to mention something with it, but I'm not going to go too deeply into it, just so you know. Okay, little trigger warning there. I'm going to say that because of my assault, I then basically was really angry and had held in so much so much anger to men. Okay, so much anger, and this has shaped my whole life. Okay, so I basically had this awakening. When was it? I would probably say a week ago, and it really made me really sad. I was actually talking to my brother about it, and I was sitting with him, and I said, you know, Aiden, like, this really is tough because it's basically shaped my whole world. It's basically shaped my whole life. As in, I never realized how much it affected me. I never realized how much it actually really did shape the way that I treated men, the way that I allowed myself to be with men, and also it made me really realize that I emasculate men because it's a easy, safe way to be in that. And do you know how much courage it takes to actually say that I have emasculated men? Look at the work that I do. Look at the work that I teach. I felt so much shame around this until I realized that it was happening for a reason. So anyway, fast forward to today, me and my partner would just squabble for like months, for like 2 months, okay? And now you're probably thinking, oh, why didn't you just break up? Obviously, you're not meant to be together. Well, no, that's not right. We are definitely aligned for each other because it's not harmful, it's just bickering about stupid shit. Um, which I feel like some people, it's really funny. I think I've spoken about this before. Some people seem to think that you should split up with your partner if you guys have some sort of disagreement or, it keeps going backwards and forwards. Here's the thing, when we do have those same squabbles over and over and over again, it's actually your karma trying to tell you that this behavior that you're doing needs to be looked at. Even if they're like showing bad behavior, your behavior needs to change just as much as their behavior. There needs to be a conversation around behavior. See how I'm using the word behavior? I also use the word behavior with Oakley. I don't use good girl, bad boy, those types of things. I use behavior, not behaving correctly, because it's not, when you say girl, because she's identifying whatever she's identifying as a girl. So if I say you're a bad girl, that's obviously going to affect her, right? So I use the behavior that she's doing because I think she is an amazing and incredible little girl, but her behavior sometimes is not fantastic, but also she doesn't know how she's behaving. Anyway, moving on from that, what I'm trying to say is it's the behavior that couples don't look at. They tend to label each other and they don't look at the behavior that they're showing. So when we identify the behavior that we are doing, we then can rectify it. But until we see it and acknowledge what the real reason behind that behavior is, you won't change and you won't shift. That's just facts. You'll just keep doing the same pattern over and over again. And how I know this is because I've been there. Everything that I teach, I have literally experienced in my life. So everything I talk about, I have experienced in my life. I go off by my experience and my knowledge behind it. And I also go by channeling as well. But this is definitely my experience. So we just bickered about stupid shit. And like obviously having a baby, you start to bicker more. And then I've noticed more when I became a mum, I was more bickering and controlling and those types of things. Anyway, for those of you who are like, what is the Queen's Code? The Queen's Code is basically, from the start, they basically say, are you a frog farmer or are you a queen? And a frog farmer is someone who emasculates men and makes them feel low. And it's not in the way that you think either. It's not like you're like yelling and screaming at them and telling their shit. All you're doing is asking them to take out trash and taking them out and asking them to do certain things. But here's the thing. The best thing I got out of this book, because I've read it once and I read it again and things started to sink in again. It took me 2 days to read it. It was super easy. I just got into it and I smashed it. It changed my relationship within a week. Within a week. My behavior has not been good at all. I have been catty, I have been narky, so my behavior has come and stemmed from trauma from when I was younger. And I really put two and two together. And I feel like that a few things have come up probably since I acknowledged that I had been assaulted, which was about 5 years ago. I feel like it's nearly properly healed. And so this book is absolutely incredible. It helps you. It's told from a story of like a young woman who is single and a young woman who is married, and someone who has had a failed divorce, and then a grandmother who's got all this wisdom. It's a really cool book. Anyway, they talk about the best thing that I got out of it, and she made it clear and clear as day. And she said, hang on, I'm going to have to get my train of thought back together again because my mind is it's a little bit slow today, guys. I've had a headache for a couple of days. It's basically that women treat men like women, and I'm going to repeat that again. Women treat men like women. We expect men to think like us, to do like us, and to talk like us. So when we're talking to our girlfriend and we're talking fast and we speak and we talk and we go and go and go and go and go, and you can kind of like semi-interrupt each other, and then you talk, and then men don't like that. Men like to be heard. Men like to be listened to. So do women. But men actually like to just be acknowledged. So if you ask a question and then they start talking and you cut them off, that is emasculating them. Because they're like, well, you're not even letting me fucking finish my speaking. The same thing as if you wanted to get your partner to take out the trash, it's about telling them what it provides, because a male is a provider, right? And I'm only going to give this information, and I really expect women not to then go and be very, very, how can I put it? Volatile, and use it to basically persuade men to do whatever they want and control them. If you were going to do that, and you're listening to this podcast, this is not what it's about. But if you're not going to, and you are willing to try it, it is probably the best thing that I've ever done. I'm very aware, and I was aware that there was something not quite right with myself because I kept getting so narky and snappy at everything. And I had to acknowledge that I was going about things wrong, and I could see that I was treating him or trying to talk to him like a woman, and he just wouldn't get it, and I'd just get so fucking frustrated, and I'd be like, why the fuck aren't you listening to me? Listen to me, hear me. I don't feel heard, I don't feel seen, come on. When really it was a reflection within me for myself to acknowledge the fact that my husband might be feeling this way, that he might actually be feeling that I am emasculating him by how I'm speaking to him. And I picked up and acknowledged some things. And here's what I will tell you. I went about it in what the book said. So I took on the notes, and because I've already read it before, I remembered some things. So it like jotted my memory. Telling them what it provides for you. So could you please take out the trash for me? To them, so this is what the book also says. Men also, they could be happy in your presence. They could just sit there, and honestly, when they want to switch off, they want to switch off. They have a sense of urgency about them where the women don't. Have you noticed how you will clean the whole entire house and then you'll have lunch or hang out the clothes? Or you will do everything you need to do and then you will put your eating, drinking and things till last? That is just what a woman does. That is her genetic makeup of her. A male's makeup is, have you ever had them come home and they're so hungry and you are barking at them when they walk through the door and they're like, I'm just so hungry, I've got to eat something, and then it causes a fight? I haven't eaten all day, blah, 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 and you're coming home and you want to eat. Can you see the difference in that? They have such an urgency about them. Once they get food, then you approach them and say, hey, if you could take out the trash or whatever you want done. And the same thing I noticed when I talked to my husband. I said to him, do you have a sense of like when I ask you stuff, do you feel like I'm asking you to do it right away? And he said, yeah, I do sometimes. So I changed the way that I spoke to him and I said, hey, when you get a chance, can you just add to your list that a couple of these things was done within a week, not even 3 days. The same as when I use the word provider, to provide, to be provided for, and telling them how it makes me feel so using it in this context, I'll use this for example, saying, hey, it really provides so much to me when you cook to on the weekend, say on the weekend, it when I cook all the time, it makes me feel like a housemaid. I get tired. I feel like it's a chore sometimes. I don't enjoy it, and I would love a break for me to be able to feel loved, feel seen, feel heard, and it would provide so much to me if I could at least have 1 to 2 days off a week or whatever we can figure out. What do you think about that? I'm telling you, within a week, it changed my life when I started to use the word provide, and when I started to look at my partner and think, you're a whole different human being to me, and not trying to make him be me as a woman and to understand me as a woman. And when I understood this has happened in the last like couple of months because we were battling backwards and forwards um, for a really long time over just small little bickering things because I wasn't seeing that he wasn't a version of me, and also he wasn't understanding where I was coming from, and I was getting aggressive and snappy. So I'm telling you now, I have changed my approach, and he's changed his attitude to me. I'm feeling so much more loved, so much more nourished, and I'm getting a break as well with things. Instead of me thinking that he should think like me, I help him out so that he can understand me better. Okay? So, this book is probably one of the best books that I have honestly ever read. And that's why Women from Mars and Men Are from Venus is really important to read as well. That is another book because it basically speaks about how we are different as human beings, and we are fundamentally different in our mind as well. And I feel like a lot of women will not understand what I'm saying, will not agree, and that is totally fine. But I'm telling you, I have seen and implemented it in my life, and it has changed my world. And also, to give you a good context on things, I noticed where my trauma was coming from, and I'm always working on things with my mentor, so I'm not just keeping and bottling and stuffing things up. Energetically, things have to move for me. But this is a good example on how energy works. So it takes time over time to heal certain parts of yourself. And even though I had thought that I had healed a bulk of my soul, this really kind of opened my eyes to another part that needed to be healed within inside me. And it's also a past life thing as well. I'm 100% sure of that because I definitely know within myself that it's another past life thing as well with males. And what's really funny is my dad and my brothers are very healthy masculine men, and I have emasculated them my whole entire life. I haven't listened to them, I've yelled at them, and I've done lots of things to kind of get across my voice because I'm like, no one listens to me, no one heard me. Because of when I was assaulted, I did mention something and it was slightly brushed off, but there was a reason behind it. There was a reason behind it, but I'm not going to express and tell you why. But all I'm saying was there was a reason behind it, and my parents had every reason to think what I was saying wasn't true at the time. But when we've spoken about it now, it makes more sense. So, but the pathway showed me that no man was going to listen to me, that no one was going to listen to me, and that a man had done this, and I'd built up all this anger. Also, having Oakley, this is what I want to really, really talk about. Having Oakley brought up a lot of rage and anger in me. And a lot of people are like, don't tell people that, don't talk about that. Well, no, I will. I never took it out on her, but it brought out a lot of rage, and I didn't know where it came from. A lot of postpartum rage, and a lot of mums can probably vouch for that. And now I have realized where that rage has come from. I can tell you how free I feel today and right now because of the last 6 months have been, guys, I'm telling you, since having Oakley, even before that, when I met my husband, that really, the journey of really starting to heal some of my karmic stuff really started to kick in, because Josh being my soulmate, we started to really challenge each other, and things started to really show up in both our lives. But I can tell you now, probably the last 12 months, being in postpartum as well has been super challenging. But all I'll say is being in postpartum and Josh also kind of like going through his stuff and us navigating as a couple and both of us using our used of our freedom and things. It's been really kind of like you have to learn how you both move and grow together so you can become in one union. And when you're in one union, you can feel like both your energies together are just one. And we're not quite there yet, but we will be in the next year, I'd say, when we work through whatever we're going through. And there's always challenges and there's always things that need to be worked on, but emasculating, of quite a few people don't know what that means. So it's basically you're taking away and making a man feel down. And I'm going to talk about feminism for a second because I don't really consider myself as a feminist. I consider myself as an equalist. I see partners as equal. I see them as whole, and helping each other equally and balancing each other out is really important. So, in our life, we have a lot of balance and a lot of equal parts in whatever we're taking with our partnership and with our children. And that's what's really important to us and to me is being in union. And a lot of the younger generation, the next generation that's coming through, seems to think that um, feminism is basically about shutting down men and not wanting them to be around, and how dare they think that they can shut us down, and how dare they think that they can, do this, and how dare they have a better job than me, and why am I not getting paid enough? And it's about being equal, guys. Like, just be equal. Just, you want to be equal in a partnership, you want to be equal in your relationship, and that's what's important, being equal, okay? That is what I'm valuing the most in life. And if you don't feel equal, think about and jot down reasons why you don't feel equal. First, jot down why you don't feel equal within yourself, and then why you don't feel equal from your husband, and see if they match up. And if they do, it's basically mirroring back to you what you need to look at in yourself to grow and heal. These are the things that we don't get taught by looking at ourselves and looking at our behaviors and looking at our patterns. And it's really important to acknowledge and take a look at these patterns in life so that we can heal and be the very best version of ourselves. And I know that a lot of people think that this stuff is bullshit, but at the end of the day, we're moving forward in the world, and what the patterns, especially my generation and the generation before me, the DNA that's been passed down in those generations is absolutely insane. Like, I'm talking, there's so much trauma, there's so much addiction, whether it's to drugs, sex, money, lots of different things. Social media has become huge on emasculating men, and then men have also flipped the side, younger generation of men, because women are now emasculating them so much, they're now going to the super extreme again. See how we're not getting balance in society? We need to have a balanced society, all right? When I mean balance, I mean just equal for both. Okay, and everyone's like, oh, but we have been fighting for equal for both. Well, yeah, but then at the same time, now we've got everything in between. All right, now you've got everything in between. You've got people changing. You know what? And I want to make this very clear. I don't care about what you identify as and what gender you are and those types of things. It does not bother me at all. You do what suits you. What does bother me, though, is the harm that you can do by changing your body. And the reason I'm saying that, and you'll be like, oh, but if they feel like they need to do it, the reason why I'm only saying that energetically, and I know for a fact energetically, that they are feeling their past life from another lifetime of feeling like they need to transform back into a female or back into a male. And that is not a problem. But then when you are changing your genetic parts that you have, that can be an issue. It's kind of like they're still stuck energetically in their past life and stuck here and now. And I really feel for them, because that is a really hard space to be in. But you can learn to really love your body and who you are, and still want to feel feminine and to feel masculine if that is the way that you're wanting to, in whatever body that you are. Okay, I'm super diplomatic about this stuff. And also, I will add on, if you do are wondering why I do the work that I do and how I do actually say that I only work with women, it's because of the work that I do. I genuinely work with the womb and work with women on grounding themselves back into their body. So for me, that is who I work with, and I know that for a fact. I've tried to work with males, things don't work. It only works with females, like my energy and how I go about things. So no judgment if you're being all judgy and being like, how come you're not being this new age and moving with the new age? Because it's actually not for me to do, but there's plenty of other healers and people out there that work with everybody. It's just not me. I have a niche and it's women. So that's what's important to me. Um, so to wrap this kind of episode up, I will say that I noticed that I was emasculating my husband, and I was noticing that his chest would drop down, that his demeanor would drop down, and he would feel attacked constantly by me, and he didn't feel respected. He didn't feel strong. I just kept deflating him. And if you have a partner who, Josh is a Pisces, he's my Pisces man, and I love him so much, but they have a lot of emotions. Pisces do have a lot of emotions, and like I'm a Leo, so I'm fire, and we laugh a bit because like I heat him up and he cools me down, and we balance each other really well. But he's a very strong man, but also has a very soft side. So when you're constantly attacking your partner and those types of things, it does affect them, does affect men too. And my brother always says, like, men actually do have hormones. They actually do have dips in their life, and they actually do get high and low. But society has basically, and also studies have basically minimalized how much their emotions actually affect them. How, when they get older, their hormones do actually affect them because they do have testosterone and it does drop when they get older. So imagine having all this testosterone, like us, having all this estrogen, and then all of a sudden it's dropped and you've got all this testosterone, like we go through every month. So I am taking a vow to be more aware and less, like, no emasculating in our household. We do not emasculate in our household. And yeah, so I feel like this is a big subject and I could go very big and broad with it as well, but I'm just talking from my experience. And I will say, from my very first relationship with Carl, I noticed that I did the same thing in different ways. And it was more or less when I didn't get the emotional needs that I met. And don't forget, I was like, I think we started dating when I was like 18 or 19, and I dated him till I was like 20, 21, 22. I was young. I dated him until I was like 22, I think it was, 22, 23. So, you know, not 22, I think it was. But yeah, so, I played a role in that relationship as well, as much as he did. But, I feel like as a woman, I really make women take ownership for their life. And you have to take ownership as a woman for your life and your part, because you are responsible for you as a woman, okay? Your husband is responsible for him as a husband and a dad, right? And I'm responsible for me and being a mum to Oakley, but most of all, I'm responsible for myself and looking after me and myself. And he should be look after him and himself, and then together we come in union and we connect together and be together as one, but we still look after each other. So, for example, my husband said to me, he works better when he works out in the morning. I said, okay, so I'm happy to get up early 3 days a week in the morning, and you can get whatever workout you want in, but I would like dot dot dot. So, and he was like, great, fantastic. So if you want things as well when it comes to partners, so that's another thing in the book. She talks about negotiating. Negotiate, negotiate, negotiate. Don't think you can't get what you want unless it's from a place of, well, I want this and you should be giving me this. Does not come from a place of that. It says, okay, well, yep, I'm happy for you to do that, but in return, could I please have this, this, and this? And this is what it provides for me when I get this and this, just like it provides for you when you do this, this, and this, right? So we started doing that as well, and it's been working really, really well for us and our family. And then when Josh comes home in the afternoon, he takes Oakley in the afternoons more so that he can play with her and connect with her, and I can have a little break. So, like I said, these are the things that we as women sometimes don't look at. And we think that we won't be able to get what we want. So sometimes we use our anger and our emotions as a semi manipulation to them, and it doesn't always end well. There's a lot of, most of likely, there is probably a lot of disagreements and a lot of anger and frustration that comes out. We don't have to go down that road. And I can tell you now, I got sick of having to go down that road. My God, did I get sick of having to go down that road of disagreements and arguments, and I felt stuck, and I felt like I couldn't, that I wasn't going to be able to figure it out, and that, the constant bickering is bullshit, and, you know, I'm in it too. Like I said, I always teach from a place of like my life and what I've been going through as well. And you know what? At the end of the day, after figuring this out, we have so, so much love for each other, like so much endless love for each other. I just was like, all I had to do was shift in my perspective with things. And then also, women, take it upon yourself to learn how to teach your husbands without telling them what to do. So help them. Like, for example, I say to my husband, and I'm just going to use this as an example. I say to him, honey, I can see what you're saying because I've now figured out him, and I've now figured out a male. So I'm like, great, this is really synced into my head. I can see that you have urgency to do this, okay? But I said, right now, we both know that I cannot do what you're needing me to do right now. There's a few little key things that need to happen before that. And one of those things is asking for help. But I can't do that right now because we are quite busy, and the person I need to ask for help from is really busy, and they asked for me to wait a week or so. So I know it's urgent. I hear you. So by acknowledging that I hear him and his urgency, and then I said, but why don't we just focus on today, right now, and let's just move through what we need to and focus on the present. And as things come up again, we will sort them out, I promise. And things changed within an instant. So it's about how you talk about things with them as well. This stuff is blowing my mind. I'm like, what the hell have I been doing for like the last 3 years? When I thought that I was communicating, I wasn't. When I was like, why can't you just hear me in my emotions, in my voice? Listen to me. And then I started to read this book, and it jogged my memory on those things. And it also has lots of different areas that it writes stuff down, and you can read and take that knowledge on and listen to. But I'm telling you now, if you're wanting to amplify your relationship, I would still read it. Even if you guys still really understand each other, honestly, it helps you understand men so much more. And also, if you're single, it actually talks about how you can go about dating people and putting boundaries in beforehand and asking for what you need beforehand. And also, because then it will show you them as a masculine person when they step up and stand up, and if you really want to go down that road with them. So it's a really, really good book if you're single. Um, Even if you're, because the chick in there, I think she's divorced, so she talks about that and how she handled things and how it wasn't great. And honestly, it is one of the best things because it really does share with you and show you where you need to grow and change and maybe look at your own personal behavior. And I feel like it's a huge step for women to go, I have been emasculating my husband and I didn't even know, or I wasn't aware that that was that. And this is when we can make a change in our behavior and make a change within who we are, and those types of things. So for all my ladies out there, I just want you to just maybe look at your behavior and see where you might be accidentally, or if you are purposely, you genuinely need to fucking stop if you're doing it purposely. If you're accidentally doing it, then also that needs to stop as well. But I find that some women do take pride in emasculating a man. It's like this old trauma based in their family, and it comes down from parents as well, female parents, females, aunties, those types of things. You can be strong, and you can be a strong wife and woman, but don't you want your partner to be there in union with you? Don't you want them to stand strong with you and love you and support you, and you love them and support them? this is like the best way that I can teach is through my own experiences, and I can say it's changed our whole dynamic of us in such a beautiful way. It's been such a delightful week in the last couple of weeks, we've said, because both of us feel, and honestly, it took me for me to change, me to stand up, and he has naturally followed in the rhythm of me. So, to the women out there who think that the man has the power, you're wrong. Women actually have the power when it comes to that stuff. We they are the provider and they lead and protect and those sorts of things, but we also lead in our own feminine way. We take leadership in other ways and they fall in line, and then we work together to create what we need and the boundaries that are within. So I'm going to leave it with that, with you guys, with that to have a little think about. But this is a really, really, really something special. I was waiting to share this with you. I was going to record this on yesterday morning when I was like really, really feeling it and my heart was really open and I was in it. But I just didn't, honestly, I'm not feeling 100% at the moment. We've had a big weekend with family and my nieces are all sick. Um, one has COVID and yeah, so they've all been a bit unwell, and yeah, but Oakley's got a little bit of a cough, and I also feel like I have I would say a slight something that I can hear in my voice, but it's not too bad. So yeah, I was gonna do it yesterday, but I just haven't been feeling 100%. And I don't know about anyone else, but it's been raining. It rained like for a full fucking week last week, and it was not fun, not at all. Because it's great for the crops and things, but I also didn't get what was that washing? Oh my God, my washing was like up to my eyeballs. So yeah, but yeah, so we've basically also decided for both of us, we're probably not going to be farming full time. I don't know if I have mentioned this before, but we won't be farming full time. We have our next plans coming into place in the next year. So yeah, it was just kind of an interim thing, and we love it, but it's just not for us full time. We're gonna probably go part time, I think, at this stage. Um, so yeah, that's the plan at the moment. Who knows? Stay tuned with my life and how things chop and change all the time, but we're trying to stay with a stable plan and a stable thought pattern for the next like we've got a 5-year plan. So yeah, we'll see how that plots out. um yeah, one other thing I'll say just quickly before I go, if your partner struggles with change and change of direction, and if something comes up and it's very shocking and you kind of have to figure out what to do with it, I'm just going to say this from my point of view. They have had a childhood where things feel like they always have to be right and there can be no mistakes, and things have to be in order, or it's not right, or I don't survive if it's not right. That's where that comes from. So, how you can handle that as well is by building stability for them. Okay? Building stability when they need it most. And then it will eventually just dissolve and that it'll just work its way through. So, that's my last little tip and trick with things and stuff. So, yeah. All right, I'm going to leave you guys there because it looks like my beautiful girl has woken up from her nap. I managed to get a workout in, and I've also done frozen meals, which I've never done before. So we're starting a new chapter, guys. We're starting a non-emasculating chapter, and we're stepping into our full womanhood, our full womanhood. So thanks for being here, guys. I love you all who listens, and I will be here next week. I'll see you then.